Gentlemen is football.
Transfers that have been made. The grass is cut. The lines are marked. 25-26 season is underway. Goodwin delivers. Oh, free header back post. And the first goal of the new season comes from the head of a veteran.
It's O'Shea for the Roar. And it's the Roar in front. Brisbane fans are smiling and jumping in the stands. It's the 25-26 season off to a perfect start. The through ball here, Barbarousas! What an introduction to the Wonderland fans! City looking for the answer, Caputo! A share of the points on the first Saturday afternoon of the Isuzu Ute A-League season.
It was billed as revenge for Auckland FC. Well, they may not have extracted their pound of flesh from Melbourne victory.
Kacharski! What a start in the purple of the glory for Jaden Kacharski from 2-0 down. It is 2-2 in the distance derby.
Eli Adams from 12 yards. Andrew Redmayne saves the day for the Central Coast Mariners. As they look to go up the other end, they might score here. Nico Duarte! The Central Coast Mariners will go on and win the M3 derby from one end to the other.
Hello and welcome back to Total A-Leagues. I'm Vince Rugari, joined by Tommy Oar once again, and not Daniel McBreen, our new signing. Look, there's no getting away from it. You'll find out eventually through the news, but he's in court. He says he didn't do it. I'm not sure if I believe him. No, he's on jury duty, which sucks for him. But it's good for us because we get an upgrade in Alex Brosque. Welcome back, mate.
Huge upgrade, actually.
Good to be here, boys.
Do you think you did it?
Knowing Macca, there's no doubt that he
Hopefully he gets through it. But very good, boys. Great to be back. Great to be talking about, an exciting round of fixtures to come. Before we look too far forward, we'll go through our best moments of the round so far, or round one, I should say. Tommy, can you start us off? What was your highlight of the weekend?
I mean, obviously we just saw it on the screens then, but I think it's impossible to go past the last kind of 2 minutes of our F3 derby. You know, the Redmayne save and then going up the other end and scoring the winner in that dramatic style. I haven't seen that too many times before. So that was a cracking end to not only the game, but to the whole round of fixtures.
Yeah, and a really important moment, I guess you'd say, for the Mariners, which we'll unpack a little bit more, given the off-season they've just had against their big rivals at home. So a special moment there. We'll get stuck into that very soon. Brosquey, can you tell us about your moment of the round?
Yeah, well, that's what you get for coming in late to the meeting. Tommy gets to pick the best moment. But for me, look, I think it's more just that the league is back, the unpredictability of it, which is great for the fans, the neutral. But for my tipping, I only got one, which was rubbish. But I guess, speaking to our league and what makes our league great, the fact that from week to week, anyone can beat anyone. And anything can happen is exciting. So that was my favourite part.
And you look at the table and it almost looks like it's upside down, going off what we tipped last week, to your point. So.
Yeah, don't watch that episode, folks, if you haven't watched it yet. Or pretend, that we said the exact opposite things that we did. No. My moment of the round is in Adelaide. Ethan Alagic scoring a cracking goal for Adelaide United. Difficult angle, difficult situation. Probably shown a little bit too much room by Marcel Tisserand. And maybe Devon Ismir should be saving that at his near post. But for Alagic, an exciting moment. South Australian boy, his old man, his auntie played for that club, and to do it in front of that home end, what a feeling that must be. So I think he's one of the players who I think can take some massive steps forward this season. With all the players who've departed from last season, there's room for young players like him to take their games up a notch, and I think he's a good chance to do that. The game of the round, potentially, Sydney FC, Central Coast Mariners at Leichhardt Oval is going to be a cracking atmosphere and game, but tense areas already, Brosquey, for Sydney. We knew they'd be coming into this season with a lot of pressure under Ufuk Talay, given the way they finished last season, and it's ramping up already, isn't it?
Look, it is, and I think the disappointing part when you look at the goals they conceded were the way that they did it. Last year, so much talk was around their defence, that transition, at times a lack of sort of hunger and desire. So you expect round one that they would have worked on that and we'd see a difference. But, you know, that second goal, and you touched on it there, just how passive they were at times in letting players turn and run at them. It was Adelaide, if anything, who really, in the first 5 minutes, made 2 big tackles and made a statement that, like, you're in Adelaide, this is going to be a tough day. I didn't see a response from Sydney, and that's the part that's a little bit worrying. And now it is almost must-win going into these next couple of games. And
I think even further than to that point is even with the ball, I thought they didn't have enough intent. And if you compare the way they played to Adelaide, every time Adelaide kind of got the ball, you could see exactly what they were going to do. There was a clear plan and they had a really clear way of approaching the game. Whereas every time Sydney got the ball, players were having too many touches. It was all very slow. I think Joe Lolly was very good in the game, but aside from him, I thought that everybody's performance was quite poor, actually. And I think there'll be a lot of soul-searching, not only defensively, but also offensively. There's
a lot of new players in that lineup, and I think that's part of the problem. As you guys know, and we spoke about earlier, especially for the foreigners who are new to the league, it takes time to get to grips with the A-League and all the things that are unique about it. So Campuzano and Kispe, not amazing on debut. The problem is they don't really, or Ufuk-Talay at least, doesn't have time to wait for them to get amazing, even though it might take some time. Is that right?
That's exactly right. And I think the later you wait to make those foreign signings, the harder it does get, because they're almost adapting on the run at the moment, which isn't good and doesn't buy them time. We've got a lot of time in the off-season to get those signings, to get that cohesion amongst the squad, amongst your players. And Sydney are going to have to do it on the run.
And I think even further than that, you can put any players in those positions, but because there were so many systemic kind of issues with the way they were playing, they're kind of feeding off scraps. You know what I mean? They're not getting ball in good positions to take players on or to show what they can do. I think that, you can put any player in those positions. If Sydney play like that, no one's going to play well.
Yeah. A couple of stats which will be uncomfortable areas for Ufuk-Talay and the club. So Steve Corica, when he was sacked, that came after just 3 games in the 23-24 season, 3 losses, 0 goals, and that also just won the Australia Cup. And Ufuk-Talay is also now the longest-serving coach in the club's history to not win a trophy. He's got 70 games, only 33 wins, and no silverware. So things need to turn around quickly for Ufuk-Talay. With that being said, let's hear a little bit from Ryan Grant on the weekend talking about Sydney FC's struggles.
Yeah, obviously, pretty disappointing result. Zapped a little bit of energy out of us for whatever reason. And like we spoke just before we were on camera, it took that goal towards the end to sort of get us up and about and sort of spark us, which is not what we want. We want to be pushing and dominating games. So, yeah, all in all, pretty disappointing. But it's very early in the season. Obviously not a great start, but we've got a long year to go.
Can't follow it up with a loss at home to the Mariners, can they?
No. I think the fans will start to turn pretty quickly, especially given the squad they had last year and not making the finals. And then with the huge turnover of players, there's an expectation that there's going to be an immediate response. And even in, Rhino's comments there about that it took until the first goal to get a response. That can't happen.
Yeah. The Mariners, though, on the flip side, hats off to them for a really stressful, no doubt, off-season that they've endured. A lot of question marks about the ownership, recruitment, staffing levels and all that, and everyone had written them off. And they come out and, look, they played with a lot of heart, Tommy.
They did. I think that, given the circumstances, I think that it was kind of a dream start, obviously, for Warren Moon as well. But, you could tell from the first kind of 5-10 minutes they were up for the game. Newcastle had the ascendancy with the ball, but you could see that there was a lot of fight in their play. They were winning every second tackle or loose ball and these types of things. And in a derby game, that often goes a long way. And obviously, you could argue they were a little bit fortunate in the end to get the win. But at the same time, I think it's well-deserved. And it kind of sets them up nicely going into this huge game against Sydney, where the pressure's definitely off them now.
Good reminder, I think, as well, of what makes the Mariners so special, even in the darkest times as well. People had pretty, a lot of doubts as well about, when Nick Montgomery took the job and just in general around the Mariners. No one ever feels confident they're going to do super well. But we should probably also remember that it's been a long time since they actually fell off a cliff hard in the A-League. It is within memory, but it's been a while. They've won a couple of titles. And there's something there ingrained, I think, at the Mariners that comes out when they've got their backs to the wall, which is not an easy thing to replicate.
No, but I think it suits them. They've always, been that sort of club, the community club that the people get around. But within the change room itself, you can see that there's always that bond. And that's because everyone always writes them off. Even when Monty was winning it, with the changes he had going into the next season, everyone wrote them off and they always stick together and come through.
They relish the underdog. status. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Let's hear now from Andrew Redmayne. Special moment for him in saving the penalty, and also Nico Duarte, the match winner.
I think we'll surprise a few teams this year. We've been written off, but we got youthful energy in bucket loads, and I think a lot of teams have to watch out for us.
This group is special. We're going to do special things this year. The net of this group is unbelievable. It has been for years, even through last season's sort of hardship. But yeah, we're here this year. We're here.
And we're going to hear again from Nico Duarte talking about his family connection, which we'll dig into shortly.
Massive A-League fan. Uncle used to play in the A-League, so sort of grown up watching. Had a lot of idols come through this league, and yeah.
Who was your uncle, sorry, mate?
Alex Brosque.
There you go.
How good, Brosque.
Who was your uncle?
So who had the thought to put Rakoba in it as his middle name as well? Did you have any influence there, or was that the folks?
That's purely the dad. He's a hardcore Uruguayan football fanatic, and one of his sons he gave Rakoba, the other one Forlan. So
there you go.
Amazing. So at what point did you realise he could be a decent footballer when he was growing up?
Look, it's difficult. You know, I think he had his own journey, and I think the parents in having me there always look for advice and that bit of guidance. But look, kids coming through, they have their own journeys, like I said, and he came through and played at different clubs as a kid, learnt the game, but he always had something special about him. And I think bit of a late bloomer as well, once he grew and got the physique that he now has, it really sort of took him to a new level. And he was working with Luke Wilkshire over at Wollongong. Lukey took him over to the Mariners as well. And I think what he's got, which is lacking somewhat in a lot of players these days, is just that fight and that real passion for the game. You know, he won't let any ball go without fighting for it, you know, and it's great to see. And look, for me, it's emotional seeing a family member get to experience winning a game like that, you know. So for me, I see that, and I was so happy for him seeing it, for obviously being my nephew. It's the fact that I was there the day that he was born and have been along in his journey up until now, to see him starting to see the rewards of being an A-League player is great.
Beautiful stuff. Lovely.
Yeah.
Good luck to Nico Duarte and the family as well. Hopefully that's the start of a long, successful career as well. We'll talk about Brisbane Roar now, boys. Tommy, we sort of foreshadowed a little bit of what we have seen on the weekend in terms of how they're going to play and what that means for, you know, the opposition and also, I guess, the referee, because this was one of the big takeaways from this game was, you know, not only the physicality of Brisbane Roar, but also the, you know, being reduced to 10 men.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there was no surprises with their approach. Obviously, Macca was talking about it in depth last week in the pre-season, the way they were approaching those games. So I think that, you know, if you look at Brisbane Roar in seasons gone by, they've probably rolled over a little bit too easily and, you know, haven't had that fight in them. So I think this really was laying down a marker for their season, saying when you play Brisbane Roar, you're up for a fight and you're up for a game. And I think that they kind of bullied MacArthur, to be frank. And that's kind of what got them the result in the end. And even going down to 10 men with a significant part of the game still to play, they managed to grind out the result. So they showed that grit that Brisbane hasn't always had.
And I'll put it to both of you. I mean, do you know who had the worst disciplinary record last season?
Good question.
If you had to guess.
It's tough. I don't know.
Well, it was Melbourne City, who ended up going on to win it.
Yeah,
so I think there's definitely something in that. I think if you can find ways to be nasty when you have to, but, you know, really stop the opposition. You spoke about being guilty of just rolling over and letting the game go by. I think that happens to a lot of teams. You know, if things aren't going well, where's the reaction? You know, and I think Brisbane from the beginning set the tone. Valkanis has brought that into the squad, that toughness. We're going to be hard to beat. We're not just going to roll over. And it worked, you know. MacArthur seemed almost shocked at times at the physicality of it.
Well, when you've been poor for so long, it's probably an important building block to put in place nice and early as well. And they can maybe refine their football as they go on, keep that hard edge, but obviously play a little bit more football. I'm sure they will, because I know Michael Valkanis has a good pedigree in terms of coaching. He won't be wanting to put out a team that just bullies other teams, but to be physical and assert yourself is an important way to start this new era.
And I think that, you know, it's up to other teams to... We saw, obviously, MacArthur players cut a frustrated figure after the game, and we saw Miloš Sejovski, obviously, after the game was also quite frustrated, but it's up to the other teams to find a way to overcome that. So, you know, they're still playing within the rules, and when they didn't, they got a red card, so you can't argue with it. That's right. I think that it's up to other teams to kind of find a way to overcome that and get the better of them. So fair play to Brisbane.
Let's hear a little bit now from Michael Valkanis talking about Brisbane Roar's physical approach.
I don't know what they expect, whether they just expect us to lie down and let them beat us. Maybe they've found a Roar that's getting the Roar back into Brisbane, and they'll fight to the very end. And that's what we showed today, that we really care, and we care for our supporters. And I hope that we made the supporters that were here tonight really proud. I felt that from the den, and the way they were with the boys at the end. And you can see that, you know, hopefully in the next coming weeks we continue on our way, keep getting results, that we bring more people back to Suncorp.
Strong stuff from him, from the team on the field as well, but another little morsel for us to unpack here, boys. And Brosquey, after your little chat about your nephew, maybe sit this one out. No, he's got his son in the team, and Dimitri was sent off on the weekend, and I just wonder whether it could cause problems that don't need to exist there. I mean, look, it's very easy for me to say this from this position, but if I was a coach, I would try my absolute hardest not to have any child of mine within my team, not only for them, but also the broader perception. You can do actually nothing wrong, and it still has that look about it.
And I think, you know, it's important to say, I think that by all accounts, he's a very talented player. So there's nothing against him personally. But if you're talking broadly around, you know, nepotism in sport and these types of things, I think that if you look at the A-League historically, when there has been instances of kind of coaches having their sons in the team or whatever it may be, I can't remember one situation where it's ended well, actually. So I think that, you know, it puts a lot of unfair pressure on the player. And also there's always, as soon as something goes wrong, that's where the first finger's going to be pointed. So it kind of invites...
That's unfair too.
Exactly.
But that's sort of what is caused when you have this sort of situation. Brosquey, like, it's a difficult one to manage, I guess, if you have this situation or you choose to put yourself in this situation.
It is for many reasons. I mean, one, obviously the father-son relationship. I mean, I coach my daughter at park football level, and that is difficult. You know, the car ride home, when I've yelled messages through her to get to somebody else, and she's like, I didn't do that. And I'm like, I know, but I'm sending a message to somebody else. There's that, but there's also, like you guys both touched on, I think, in the perception of how it looks. And I think, look, he is a good player and he deserves his spot. Obviously learned a harsh lesson, and again, that dinner would have been a bit awkward but they got the win, right? So I think, look, it's always going to be difficult, but one that Valkanis has to manage, he'll manage it fine, and I think as long as he keeps performing and doing well, then, you know, no one will ask questions.
That's right. A quick look at Perth Glory, boys. They have a difficult trip ahead of them on the weekend to face Melbourne City. Did you see enough from them in their first game to be encouraged about the direction they might be heading into, Brosquey?
Look, I think so. I think they've made some changes which they definitely needed to do. I think their start to last season was extremely poor, and it just sort of rolled from there. So, you know, while this one they would have hoped to win, and being up 2-0 as well, disappointing to lose that. There's still those elements of last year and not being able to find ways to win that crept in late in the game. But definitely signs that they're going to be a much better team than last season.
I think on paper as well, they're a much stronger team, a much stronger squad than they were last season. I think the first 20 minutes was very bright, obviously creating chances, scoring goals. But yeah, like you said, to go 2-0 up at home and not to win is obviously, you can't be too happy with that. And I think in that game as well, they only had 28% possession, which, you know, playing at home against Wellington, you know, in the first game of the season, I think that with the ball, they're going to have to do more.
Yeah. Brosquey, you're going to break down Ifane Eze's goal for Wellington Phoenix for us.
I am, and look, it was a very impressive goal. I think it highlighted to me, again, speaking about Perth, a couple things. And you look here how disjointed that defensive line is. I mean, Caltac is so deep when you compare where Wooten is, where Risdon are, and it's a striker's dream, you know. So he sees that, he identifies it and makes the run in behind Scott Wooten. The ball is great and his feet are great. Not so much here where he gets stuck a little bit, but once he pushes it past Caltac and sees that he's got a bit of space, you know, Matthew Sutton comes rushing out and he's only got the one option because he's gone so wide, it is to dink it. And I think the way that he executed it was perfect. Exciting young player, or exciting player, good to see him here. And I think if they can get him the service that he needs, if they can get him on the ball in those areas, anywhere around the box, he'll be dangerous.
a very Alex Brosque-esque finish, actually, I must say.
Well, not with the right foot.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Tommy, does he get into your team of the week? This is going to be a thing from you that we're going to see each week.
Yeah, he didn't actually this week, and he was one of the ones that was quite stiff to miss out, so I'll preface it with that. But my team of the week in goals can't go past Andrew Redmayne. Obviously, we saw his heroics earlier in the show, but, I mean, yeah, you couldn't leave him out after saving that last-minute penalty. Back four, I've gone for Salas from Brisbane, Pantazopoulos, Girdwood, Reich and Davidson. I thought they all had really good games, especially Girdwood Reich, I think, joining late in the pre-season. Really a cauldron of fire against Victory at home that first 20 minutes. I thought he handled it superbly, and I think he's an exciting talent to watch this season. In the midfield, I've got Verstrata, Alagic and Jonro. Obviously, you spoke about Alagic earlier in the show, it was fantastic. Verstrata, again, picked up exactly where he left off last season. He's obviously an outstanding player. And Denny Jonro, how good is it to see him back in the A-League? And I thought he was superb in his game, and probably a little bit unlucky not to be on the receiving end of a win in that game. I think his performance deserved that. And up front, I've gone for Adam Taggart, DeCooley and Joe Lolly. And I think Joe Lolly was probably the only bright spark for Sydney in their game, and he really carried the team on his shoulders, and unfortunately for him, couldn't do enough to get a result, but I thought he was outstanding. And Taggart amongst the goals again, and DeCooley, I thought great start to the season, very bright, and I think his energy in that game was superb.
I liked him too. Just one I want to pick up there with you, Brosquey, Denny Jonro. I feel like it's been a while since he's been in the league. People have maybe forgotten what he was like before he left the league. He's had some injury problems which have probably stopped him from progressing to a higher level in Europe. Obviously played a lot in the French top division and then in Spain in the second division. But he hasn't come back a worse player for all that experience. And he seems like one, I don't know if you agree, but will be aiming to dominate this league.
Dominate the league, and being a World Cup, you get himself into that World Cup squad as well. I think you're right. I think in the way that he approached that game, with so many changes to the in the attacking side, like Mashashi's gone, Arzani's gone, no Valupile, no Piscopo. He was like, give me the ball. I'm going to create. I'm going to do something. And it just seemed like he was all over the park. Anything they did good going forward, he was a part of. So I just love that attitude from him in just hitting the ground running, wanting to be the guy that they go to for goals.
I think it'll be interesting to see how they use him going forward as well, because he obviously played that number 10 position, and we saw Juan Mata come off the bench. But, obviously I played with Denny as well at MacArthur a few years ago, and I've always thought he was more of a number 8. So I would like maybe in the coming weeks we'll see him kind of drop more into that number 8 role, and Juan Mata can be in the starting lineup as well.
Yeah, very good. We're going to point out a few things to look out for in the upcoming round 2, starting with Auckland FC, who played their first game at home. Obviously, they were one of the absolute highlights in an off-field sense of the league, so they're going even bigger with all that game day experience stuff this weekend. There'll be tailgating outside the ground, which does not involve cars being in close proximity, Tommy, but involves people drinking from the boot of them. The American version. I'm more of the former tailgater myself. And there's an obstacle course as well, if you're into that sort of thing. Wellington Phoenix are responding in kind a little bit. Yep. Kids can go free to the game this weekend in Wellington, which is an outstanding initiative. Good on them, and hopefully they have an exciting team to follow this coming season. And then the champions, Melbourne City, are back at home as well, and fans at that game can get some photos with the A-League Grand Final trophy, the prize toilet seat outside the ground, which is, for me, still one of the most amazing pieces of silverware in world sport. And I should mention as well, covering some of the NRL towards the end of last season with the Reece Walsh controversy around the Brisbane Broncos player drinking toilet water. I saw a couple of toilet seats and toilet lids at NRL festivities, and I just thought, stay off our turf. Find your own thing. That's us. All right, so this is Who Am I? In the pre-season, we spoke to some A-League footballers and asked them to identify some of the game's most recognisable faces, but using only their eyes.
Oh my God.
That's He's had his eyebrows done, that's why.
If you can just hold them.
Buzz.
Ronaldo.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Hurricane.
Hurricane.
Oh, Harry Kane.
Harry Kane.
Australian?
Yeah.
Is that Hope?
Is it Alexia?
Does she play for Barcelona?
It's a girl.
Kaya Simon?
Who is this? Is it Kai Simon?
Taylor Morrison. Is it a Matilda?
She's with the Matildas?
I can see it. It looks like Kaya. Alexia Putellas.
She's not the Aussie?
I feel like I can see it, but I can't, you know what I mean?
Just flipped it. It's got a moustache. Oh, it's Jackson. It's Jacko. Oh my God. Irvine. It's not Jackson Irvine. No way. It's Jackson Irvine.
So close. Soft eyes.
Sorry,
Kind
bro.
eyes. He does have lovely eyes, to be fair to him.
Great eyes.
No way. Nice eyes, though.
Oh, whoa.
Oh my.
Sorry, Jacko.
It's the eyelashes are on point. Wow.
That took way longer than it should have.
Apologies to Jackson Irvine, who is a beautiful man, as demonstrated there. Should have picked it, but there you go. A big welcome to Nalin Mastou at the desk. Nalin, welcome. She's going to be taking us through some stuff we might have missed each week, so take it away, bro.
Yeah, well, let's kick it off with something that sent the internet into an absolute meltdown. Brisbane Roar's goalkeeper, Macklin Freak, wearing the number 11. People are asking, is the game gone? Is this a crime against football? Where do we stand on keepers wearing a number between 2 to 11?
As the former Brisbane Roar number 11, I don't approve.
Look, I think unless you... And remember, I think Chilivert back in the day, Paraguayan goalkeeper, he would come forward and score the free kick in the odd occasion. I think if you're scoring goals, take whatever number you want.
Time it's acceptable.
If you're a goalkeeper, 11's not good.
What about old mate McBreen? Not here this week, so we can sort of go hard on him here, but wearing number 2 as a Golden Boot winner in the A-League.
Well, without being disrespectful to defenders, if you watched him train, you could have mistaken him for one. So I think the 2 suited McBreen.
You've just seen it there, Tommy wearing a postcode.
Yeah.
What is actually the story behind the 121?
Well, it was assigned. I didn't choose that, obviously, even though on Twitter it often gets targeted at me that 11 times 11 is 121. I didn't know that. They told me.
Well, there you have it. It's iconic nonetheless, and still a crime against football. But moving on to something a little bit more odd on the pitch over the weekend, there was a moment there, I don't know if you guys saw it, in that Melbourne City game. Andreas Kilwen pulled down his shorts for a second. Little readjustment, little issue happening. But it's actually not the first time we've seen it happen in the A-Leagues, because if you remember, back in the day, Michael Thwait absolutely fuming at the referee's decision. Boom, there it goes. Full shebang, yellow card. He's absolutely fuming. And most recently as well, Brendan Hamill walking down the tunnel ahead of a Melbourne Victory game. Refs did a little check and just had to prove that he had his other shorts underneath.
It's the flesh-coloured bike shorts.
Yeah, I had to do a double take then.
Bit of a blur that comes up on screen, but have either of you had a moment there, a little bit of a malfunction with your kit?
I've actually, luckily for me, escaped pretty unharmed in that department, I think. But
No, same. I never had any issues like that. Yeah. I mean, the only one I can remember was when Ryan Grant forgot his jersey over in Wellington. And Clarkey had to run. It took him 10 minutes before he was able to get his jersey, come back and go on. But in terms of pulling pants down, no.
I'm sure you both guys know Thwaitie. Have we ever got an explanation from him on what the hell was going on there?
If once you've met him, it makes complete sense. It sounds weird.
Thwaity's different. He's different.
I feel like it's only right that we end the show on a bit more of a wholesome note, and that was on the opening night. We saw Ethan Allegich, the 21-year-old, score the second goal, set up by one of his lifelong friends as well, Yaya Dukuli. Great moment between the two of them. And we actually heard them speak post-match about their friendship as well.
A lot of us young boys have been playing with each other for, I don't know how long now. Like, I've been playing with Yaya since I was 12, so it's just built up, and I love playing with him, and he's a great player.
Me and Alan's like one of my best friends. We have a pretty good connection. I think most of my assists go to him anyway, so I know when I see him making those deep runs, I've just got to play it, and he's not a bad finish, so congrats to Alan.
Great to see the two boys living out their dreams in the A-Leagues, and also for Sydney, not the result they wanted, but Paul Ocon Jr. starting alongside Reece Uli, both of them playing for your former club back in the day, Marconi Stallions, as 5-year-olds, and now in the A-Leagues together. Have either of you had a teammate where you ended up playing professional football with who was also in your junior club?
Yeah, I mean, mine wasn't as young as that, but I did play youth football with Ben Halloran and Mitch Nichols a little bit as well, actually. So they're probably the two, and played with them both, Ben for the Socceroos and Mitch for Brisbane Roar. So.
And David Carney, I went to high school with him. So we, as 12-year-old kids in Year 7, causing a fair bit of trouble. year 7. So yeah, I've known Carney for a long time, and then ended up playing with him at Sydney, Socceroos.
Socceroos roommates, I recall.
Yes. And I did have a photo to bring in, but it wasn't kind to David, so I thought I'd leave it in from back when we were very young. Went on a trip to England together as school kids.
How good is that? And it helps with the chemistry on the pitch as well. We've seen it. It
definitely does.
Yeah. Iran Kunda, Mohamed Toure as well, so great to see.
If the front line of the Socceroos all comes from Adelaide United in the future, which, you know, is not out of the realms, they're all going to know what to do with each other. It's fantastic. So, good debut, man.
Thanks, mate.
Great to have you on the show.
Pleasure being on.
Thanks to you boys as well. Not sure how long Macca's jury duty or this case is going on for Brosquey, but we'll have you every week he's not here, mate.
He said he's got some good witnesses, so it could drag on.
We'll see. Thanks to you for watching. We'll catch you next week.